Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Megan, glad to have you. We are going to go grocery shopping, and the reason we're going grocery shopping is because we are doing a foster family feeding day. In our community, we have a thing called the James Project, and they work with foster families. They provide housing for families to have a large amount of children, a lot of times keeping sibling groups together and giving them really a loving home environment while they are working through all of the things that foster care brings along with it. And we as a community are given the opportunity to help them, whether it be doing lawn care or bringing meals or helping make a child's birthday really fun. And I have taken on this week doing meals for the families. There are several houses that the James Project has, but only 3 of those currently are taking meals this week because I believe one of them is being worked on for a new family to move in, and the other family may be on vacation, I think. So I'm just going to be doing 3 homes today, and our numbers are a little bit smaller than normal. I'm doing 16 mouths, we're 7 in one family and then 3 in the other 2. So I thought I would keep it kind of simple this time since it is summertime and it has been fairly hot around here, though this week is feeling pretty good. I'm going to try to do some nice cooler items. I do have one person that is vegetarian, and I have a plan for how to make sure that they feel included as well. And we'll do a little dessert. We'll do a little something on the side. It's gonna be delicious, but we have to go shopping for some things. I do have a few things at home, so I don't need a huge thing, but I am gonna take you inside. We're gonna go to Sam's Club and Meijer today, make sure that we have everything that we need. And then tomorrow, we're going to do lots of putting it all together, so I hope you'll stick around for that. And I think it's gonna be really tasty. Let's go buy food for a bunch of people. And then tomorrow, let's go make food for a bunch of people, okay? Come on, let's go. I'm gonna do some sub sandwich type things. This is some French bread, and there are 2 in a pack. This I'm going to grab 2 bags. I think that'll be good for 1 for the family of 3, 1 for the family of 3, and then I might give the family of 7 2 of them. We'll see how that turns out. So let's see, $3.98 for the 2 count. And I'm grabbing 2. I'm also gonna grab the hoagie rolls, and I think what I wanna do with these is use these for the person that is vegetarian, just so that I don't have weird looking rolls that I'm gonna give them. So I grabbed one at $6.98, and I made sure the date was out far enough. My family can eat the rest of what I don't give to the family, but I think that'll be the best way to go about it. I'm gonna do ham and turkey half and half. So the ham here for the Black Forest is $7.82 for the container. I also grabbed some honey roasted turkey breast. It was kind of busy over there, but it was $9.76. I grabbed 2 of them because I just feel like turkey's usually a winner, you know? Let's be winners today. I'm gonna make a pasta salad with peppers and cherry tomatoes. $6.98 for the 6-pack of peppers. And I'm telling you what, these are like the best peppers. They always are so good. $5.48 for tomato grapes. Grape tomatoes. I'll just slice them in half and put them in that pasta salad. The following item is for the Birch family, not the Foster family. So these are Gala apples for $6.98, the 5-pound bag. And it's not the cheapest thing that I could get. I could totally get it cheaper elsewhere, but I would say it's the best one. Does that make sense? Like, I get them at Aldi, not great. Meijer, okay. But Sam's Club seems fairly predictable that it will be good. Also another buy for the Birch family, strawberries, $5.98 for 2 pounds. Whoa, look at those nice sun rays. It's late, so the sun is coming down. Anyway, $67.70 was my total at the good old Sam's Club. Not too bad. I think it'll work out nicely. And that was a mixture of some things for the James Project, a couple things for the Birch family. Now we're gonna head over to Meijer and pick up the rest of the things that we need to make this extravaganza complete. We're here at Meijer, guys, and I got bananas. They're 60 cents a pound. I want to get orange slices for the families as well. They're $1.29 each. I'm gonna grab heirloom tomatoes and slice them up for the sandwiches. $3.29 a pound for those guys, but man, heirloom tomatoes are so good, so definitely worth it. Let's not go crazy with tomatoes. I'm gonna grab 2, and I think that should be fine. Look at these guys, aren't they pretty? I like them. I want to do some cheddar on these guys. I've kind of been debating between sharp cheddar and medium, but I'm gonna go for medium. I feel like I want to play it safe a little bit. $2.39 for each little package of 10. I'm gonna grab 2 of them. I'm also going to do Swiss for the ham side, and I like baby Swiss. Those are good. 10 slices, they're similar. Okay, all right. Let's get 2 of those guys. Those are also $2.39. I'm gonna grab 2 things of orange juice for $2.69. Meyer brand lactose-free milk. I'm gonna grab 3 of these. They are $3.39. Ooh, price has gone up a tiny bit. I don't think I told you, but I'm gonna be making cupcakes with a homemade chocolate frosting, and I need some powdered sugar to go with it. These are $3.25 for the big bag. For the pasta salad, we need noodles, of course, and I think the tricolor penne noodles are really tasty. $1.89, and I'm grabbing 3 boxes. Italian dressing for the pasta salad, $1.99 for a 4-pack of the powder, and then I have vinegar and oil and water at home, so I will make it for fairly inexpensive. I just wanted to show you this. This name brand one for just 1 little package, not 4, is $1.89, 10 cents cheaper, and I get 4 times more for 10 cents more. Does that make sense? Crazy. We're gonna do the last thing here, and that's just baking cups for $1.19, 90 of them in a pack. And I think we'll go check out, folks. Let's see how much this costs. Meyer is done. $50.27 was the total there, plus the $60 whatever it was at Sam's Club. So we're just over about $110. Got some things for the James project, and then also some items for ourselves. So I think it's a pretty good deal. Hang around. We're gonna do some baking. We're gonna do some making. We're gonna do some things to get this show on the road, and I can't wait to share it all with you. Sleep good, but I'll see you really soon, like 5 seconds, less than that. Okay, come on. Good morning, you guys. It is 4:40 in the morning. Let's turn some lights on. I'm ready. I got my things together. This morning I'm doing an interview on Fox and Friends for back to school lunches and how to save money. You know I love going to the grocery store, people, so we're gonna be doing some of that. I'm waiting for the camera guy to be here in about 20 minutes. Kitty cat, we have to feed her so that she doesn't come and interrupt our situation. But I thought I would show you a little behind the scenes. You wanna see? I'm gonna be standing here, and we've got all sorts of little food things that we're gonna have. I'm gonna be talking about like getting yourself some reusable items and buying store brand and getting away from convenience items, because you're gonna save a ton of money buying bulk. You know the drill, people. You know the drill. I also have a little cheat sheet here in case, you know, I lose my mind or something, which is very likely. But I'm excited. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I will post a link in the description box after it airs. So if you want to check it out, that would be a lot of fun. Now it's just the waiting game. It's just the waiting game. Guys, the camera guy is here. Oh, you can see me back there. So we're getting ready. It's 5:19. In 30 minutes, we go live, people. Millions of people. It's no big deal. No big deal. Oh man, guys, look at all this excitement. It's gonna be fun. Well, after a super early, super fun morning, and the kids and I just hanging out, we did some art. Let me show you. There's art over here, yes. And we just got back from a walk. Kids are taking a rest. Now we're gonna start cooking up those cupcakes for the James project, and also put together all the stuff that we need to do. First, let's boil up some water for all of the noodles that we need for our pasta salad, and then we'll just get those cupcakes rocking and rolling. I'm really excited about the cupcakes because, well, why wouldn't you be excited, right? Let's take a quick peek at the things that are going into this chocolate cupcake goodness. Not too much craziness, you guys. It's gonna be so good. I made the chocolate cake, not cupcake version of this, which is exactly the same, a couple weeks ago for a birthday. It was Israel's birthday, and it turned out beautifully, you guys. It was so good, and I had been so nervous about making my own cake just because I didn't want to ruin anybody's birthday with like a bad tasting cake, and it was delish. I'm so glad that I did it. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're just gonna do 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of sugar. Ooh, I'm gonna have to go grab some more. I just went ahead and searched my whole kitchen. I don't have more sugar, more white sugar, that is. This has never happened to me before. So what am I to do? I'm going to go with the flow. I only need about 1/2 cup more of sugar, and I'm just going to use brown sugar. Is it the best thing to do? Not necessarily. Is it the worst thing to do? Not necessarily. It's going to happen though either way. So that's what's going in next. We're going to pack in the rest of the brown sugar and hope for the best. When I was doing a quick search to see if it was okay for me to substitute brown sugar for the white sugar, it said in a lot of cases it's fine, although it is going to be more moist, and that's fine with this cake for me. So also it could change the color of whatever I'm making, and since this is a really chocolatey goodness, I am not worried about that either. So here we go. See, it's actually even less than half a cup, so I'm okay with this. Tell me in the comments your biggest baking whoopsie that actually turned out okay. Ran out of something. What happened? I gotta hear the juicy details. Okay, 3/4 a cup of the Hershey cocoa. I have a mixture of Special Dark and just the regular one. I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons each of baking powder and baking soda. And then we'll do 1 teaspoon of salt. Well, wow, don't even know what to say. Don't even know what to do. I'm going to stop and think about this for a split second, freak out just slightly, because I don't have any more sugar. That's why I'm freaking out a little bit. I'm like, uh-oh. Awesome. I was trying to turn the KitchenAid off, and instead I turned it up higher. Thankfully, I sanitize my counters before I do stuff, so I was able to sweep most of that back in. Not the stuff on the floor or the stuff on my dress. It's still there a little bit. Just before that happened, I was thinking to myself, I should go put an apron on. Yeah. Okay, it's okay. Crazy happens and we can handle it. Water's boiling now, so let's get to that. Salt that water, salt it, and then I'll put in my tri-colored penne. I've got 3 boxes going in. Salt it like the sea. Really, if you're not a noodle fan, pasta fan, try using more salt sometime and see if it tastes better. I think it can be night and day difference, making sure that you use enough salt to bring out the flavor. Just my little tidbit there. Let's give this thing another chance to redeem itself, or for me to redeem myself. Me, oh my. Okay, here we go. Break open 2 eggs, stick them in there. Cup of milk, 1/2 cup of veggie oil, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We're going to stir this nicely for 2 minutes. Look at how smooth and beautiful that looks. Yum. Now we're going to add a cup of boiling water, and I'm also going to add a little pack of freeze-dried coffee to it. Give it a little kick in the pants, you know what I'm saying? For the instant coffee, I'm using this Mount Hagen. It was just what was at the store, so nothing special. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on in, mix it up. The batter is going to be super thin, and that is totally normal, so do not get afraid about that. Let's put them into our little cupcake tins. I didn't tell you guys, but our dishwasher broke last week, so we've been hand washing everything, and that's been interesting. The first place Marcus and I lived was a house without a dishwasher. Actually, it was a house practically without any counters too, or cabinets. It was crazy, but it was just the 2 of us, and while occasionally we'd make this really big meal, it wasn't terrible. Now with 7 people, there's just a lot of washing. Typically, I do like 3, sometimes even 4 loads of dishes a day in the dishwasher. So, doing those by hand has given me a greater appreciation for my dishwasher, but it doesn't come in until next week, so then they'll come and install it, and we'll have a lovely dishwasher. Okay, these look delicious. And I am going to put a little bit of olive oil on them and just let them cool for a bit until I can add everything else on. Just a little bit of olive oil, enough that they don't stick, since I'm going to be adding some oil and all of that with the Italian dressing. I am going to put these in the oven 350 degrees, and I'm going to start out at 12 minutes. I know that's going to be way under, but this recipe calls for cake, not cupcakes. So I don't want to overdo it, and I know when I made the actual cake, it didn't take nearly as long as it said. So let's start for 12 minutes, and then we can always add to it. You just can't unadd, right? Whoa, look at those big guys. Okay, it's been 12 minutes. I can tell that they are not done. There's one, Mount Vesuvius over there doing something, so we'll give it some more time. Look at these, pretty. So it's about 20 minutes on this. I don't think I mentioned this. This is just the recipe on the back of the Hershey cocoa mix. It's like perfectly chocolate cake, and then I'll do the frosting too. And I'm telling you, it is pretty perfect, I will say. Man, those smell good. Pasta is cooling down actually really nicely. I put it in my big old bowl. This thing is amazing. After one of my big baking things for the James project, I was making enough food for like 27 people, something like that. And the little bowl that I had wasn't cutting it, so I did get those at Sam's Club. And I've been able to use them a couple times since then. Lifesaver. I've washed up some peppers and I've washed up some tomatoes. I'm gonna cut them, I'm gonna throw them in there. And while we do that, I had asked you guys over on Instagram if you had any topics that you thought would be enjoyable to talk about. And this wasn't just like asking questions, what's your name? You know my name, but you know what I'm saying? It wasn't just like, hey, let's do a Q&A. But I thought I could talk about some different topics that you might find interesting. So of course, one of those was the story about foster and adoption within our family. And I have told a lot of this story before, but I know there's going to be new people, and so hopefully I don't bore you too much. But our family started doing foster care, when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my family started doing foster care. Previous to that, my parents had done some research with Johns Hopkins University for AIDS babies. And they would get blood draws, and they'd have different testing done. And it was just to do some research out there, trying to find help for babies with AIDS. And at that time, I remember my parents saying, what do you think if we were to ever adopt some of these babies or bring some of these babies into our family? And we all thought that was really cool, but it never really came to fruition. And so when I was the last kid at home, I was 14, my mom had just retired from the military. We moved from Maryland to Minnesota, where my mom grew up. I actually had her teachers in my middle school and high school. That's how crazy, that's how back to our roots we went. So I had a lot of her teachers actually, which was just kind of crazy. And while we were there, my parents got their foster care license and they started doing foster care. And we had tons of kids. The first children that my parents fostered were two little girls. One of them was a newborn and the sister was 5. They were the absolute sweetest, kindest, just adorable children. The parents really were wonderful, and they had kind of just gotten into a bad place. Their lives turned around and they got their kids back, and it was just a really happy reunion. I know that's not always the case. Sometimes those reunions are not happy, and nobody wants to see it happen, So that was a really, really great first experience. When my parents, somewhere in there, my parents got a little girl who had microcephaly, and meaning that she had a smaller brain, she was blind, I believe she was deaf, she had seizures constantly, she was 5 years old and only weighed 19 pounds, and her mother had shaved her head, so she looked almost like one of those children that you might see in Auschwitz. And it was really hard to see just because you could tell how uncared for she had been. So my parents took her in. The day that she came, they had laid her down on the floor on a blanket, and I was sitting by her, and they went to walk the social worker out to the car, and I was just sitting by her, and she had her seizure. I had never been around anybody that had seizure, and I was just 14 years old or something like that. I was freaking out because I didn't know what was going on. Her arms were in the air, and she had this little blanket on her, and it kind of looked like a ghost sort of a thing. So that was kind of a scary first encounter, but then after that, you know, I knew what was going on and I kind of understood. And my parents took really, really good care of her and just had tube fed her, everything. Well, our home really wasn't set up for special needs children, and she was taken to a home that was really set up for her to have like the best experience. And then she did later pass away. Her life expectancy wasn't very long to begin with. So that was a really kind of like a special child in our family that came. And then my parents fostered lots and lots, like over 50 children total, all sorts of kids. But 3 of them that came never left. They stayed around, and they one was born in 1997, so 12 years after me, and then so she's 12 years younger than me, and then one was born in 1998, and so she is 13 years younger than me, and then my youngest one, she was born the year I graduated high school. And I loved having little kids around. It was a lot of fun. One of my sisters is African American, and so we got to do a lot of fun stuff with her hair, if you know what I mean. And always had her hair up in cute little things, and my mom took really good care of her hair, and they were always just dressed adorably and sweet little things. So that was kind of our experience with that. Well, after graduating high school, I moved here to Illinois, and I started working for a family that had not been able to have children, and they had always wanted to do foster care anyway. They just couldn't get pregnant, for whatever reason. So they adopted, they adopted 2 children, and then miraculously she found out that she was pregnant and adopted her 3rd child 8 weeks before or after her first biological child was born, if that makes sense. So she had 4 children under 2.5. And I started nannying for her when she was miraculously pregnant with her 2nd son, and she was about to have her 5th child. So at that time, they were a little bit older, but it was still just so beautiful and eye-opening, and I loved it. And I've had lots and lots of friends that have done foster care, that have adopted. A friend of mine just adopted her youngest 3. They had been in foster care for over, I think, 1,500 days, and finally got to adopt them, and it was just a really beautiful party and, you know, celebration. It was really great. So there's lots of that kind of stuff in our life. Giving to the James Project is one of the ways that I feel like we're able to support the foster care community and foster parents and the children that are going through that foster care program. It's not easy, and there's a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions and a lot of things that go with being in foster care. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to help, because for a long time, you know, you feel like you want to do something and you don't know what. And then when I realized, like, I've just got to do it, and it wasn't even just realizing it, it was really just having maybe the means to do it. And I'm really, really grateful that we have it. And I'm happy to be supporting those that are choosing to do foster care, choosing to adopt, because I think they need a lot of support. And they need a lot of people to rally around them and to say, you know, you're not alone in this, and we're going to help you, and we're going to encourage you. And hopefully in some way, shape, or form, we can continue to help and maybe do more, or do something that would be even more beneficial. Someone else asked for me to talk about my experience living in Europe. I was born in Heidelberg, Germany. My mom and my dad were retired military. And I have a brother who's a JAG officer in the Air Force, brother-in-law that retired from the military. I have a brother who's currently in the military, and I think is up for retirement in 4 years or something like that. He's been all over the world. So anyway, my parents were in the military, and I was born in Heidelberg, Germany. I lived in Stuttgart, I lived in Guadeloupe, and I lived in Frankfurt. And living there was just an absolute delight. There are still times when I walk into like Barnes & Noble and I get this big whiff of all of the magazines and the newspapers at the front of the store. that kind of book smell. And I can still remember every time I walked into an apartment building, because that was everywhere where I lived. You could just smell that kind of newspapery smell, or sometimes somebody will walk by with a certain kind of cigarette that really takes my mind back, or certain bakery items. And I think the beautiful thing about living there was, you know, we went to castles, and we went to, we went to Austria, and we slept in a windmill, and it was freezing cold, you know, and going on little marches and parades, and hiking through like the forest and picking fresh wild raspberries and blackberries and putting them in my bicycle. I remember that. You know, I remember going to bakeries and getting Dampfnudel, if any of you have had that. We like to eat Dampfnudel without the caramely kind of sauce. And I have searched and searched and searched for a recipe that would speak to me, and I've yet to find it. Most of the time it has like this kind of sauce thing to it, but there was just this really crusty bottom, and then it had this puffy, domed, kind of salty-ish dough top, and it was so fluffy, and I always loved when we could get that. I loved eating pretzels. I loved going to like the Christmas markets, and being outside and finding all these little fun markets and vendors. And my dad used to take us to a farm, and we would get apples and different vegetables and things like that, and they would give me a free apple. And I remember driving around, and you know that song, you are my lover, you're my best friend. You know that song, what I'm talking about? In my soul. That was kind of the time period. And I remember going to this swimming pool where there were all these slides and people just everywhere, and all the men were wearing Speedos. And I guess at the time I didn't think that was strange, and we would eat pommes frites, and you get this little boat, you know, you get this like little paper boat thing with all these seasoned French fries, and you have a little tiny fork like this big, and called them pommes frites, and they were so good. What else? We played and we walked everywhere, and the candies, you know, that we would have were beautiful. And I loved hearing people speaking German. I loved going to the library and just connecting with people really from all over the world. And it was just such a happy, beautiful time. I just loved it. I love everything about it. There's this fear in me, you know, I haven't been there in 25 years. The last time I was 12 and I went to visit, and since moving away. And I have this little bit of a fear, you know, you have this kind of like fantasy in your mind of what it is, and then you think it's going to be very different. It will no longer be that. You know, PH Village where I lived, it is no longer like, that was on base, and that's no longer like just for military, I guess. They're having civilians live there, or maybe I could be wrong. But you know, you think the things that will not change, you know, Heidelberg Castle and the artwork and the huge, beautiful buildings that really are historical, and they'll be there forever. But there's, you know, you have this image in your mind. But someday, even with all of that and kind of that fear of so much is going to be different, I would love to take our children there. And that is why we learned German. I know some of you have asked, why did you choose German? And it's just something that my ear really enjoys. And I feel like I learn it a lot more quickly than I have been able to learn Spanish. And so I just love it. To be quite honest, I just love it. Let's make the Italian dressing for this, huh? Because I had 3 boxes of pasta, I'm gonna do 3 packages of Italian seasoning. I did not have one of the Italian dressing shake and do's. So I'm just gonna do this in my blender, and I think that'll be great. I'm going to stick this, wait, am I doing this right? Everything is being trickled, so 3/4 a cup of vinegar. Oh man, smelly wellies. 3 tablespoons of water times 3, so we need 9 tablespoons of water. I'm gonna give that a quick blend. How many of you make your own seasoning? Tell me all about it. Do you make it, not this. There's like make it, there's make it, and then there's go to the fridge and grab the bottle and make it work. Ooh, I like that smell. Okay, I'm gonna blend that again, and then we'll add the oil. I need 1.5 cups of oil. I feel like I'm doing a lot of failing today. That didn't fit in there. Oh, look at those muscles. Come on. Come on. Actually, my kids like to squeeze my arms and says, "Oh, I love your jiggly arms." Thank you. Thank you. Okay, babies. Pour it over the top of this goodness, and then we're done. I'm gonna mix it. I'm gonna stick this whole bowl in the fridge to let it kind of cool some more and let all the flavors do their flavor business, and then I will bag them up for them to go traveling to somebody's house. Got all those dishes washed up. That was a labor of love. Let's make some frosting. Super easy. Same on the back of the container of the Hershey's cocoa. And I am going to grab this guy. There's just a tiny bit left, as well as open this new one. And it's super easy and really, really tasty. I've tried to make my own before and didn't find it to be all that tasty, so this will go really well. Melt a stick of butter, 2/3 cup of Hershey cocoa. Get that stirred together. Okie dokie, here we go, folks. Hope for the best. Because of the way the coolers are when I drop food off, I don't want the cupcakes to get smashed and the frosting to kind of get everywhere. So I'm actually going to dish this up into some little baggies, and then they can easily just clip the tip of it and squirt it in. So really easily they can just snip the end there and then use it as a piping bag. There's a good amount in here. You always think, oh man, there's not going to be enough. And then typically there's like way more than enough. So I'm pretty happy with the outcome here. I think we're good to go. Oh dear. Oh, okay. I wonder how long that chocolate's been there. Any guesses? I'm gonna have to go back and watch the video and check that one out. Well, it's just one crazy day after another. I'm gonna slice up some tomatoes, chat with you a bit more, and then we're gonna put these sandwiches together. Another topic somebody asked about, what's the best advice you've learned about raising children? I think I don't know the best advice that I've received necessarily. I mean, there could be a million things, but I think the best advice that I could say, or that I have learned, the best thing I've learned, I guess, would be that every child is so different and has their own way of looking at life and their own abilities, their own insecurities, their own delights, and each one of them is going to be so different. And I think the beauty, and it is beautiful that children really humble you, and they also bring so much delight, and they remind you how much you don't know and how much you need to depend on the Lord for strength and for wisdom. And they're constantly, the second you think you've figured your child out, they change. And all the things that you want to instill in your children, oftentimes it's the thing that you struggle with personally the most that you get to encourage your child in. And you could see that as a negative thing, but really I think it could be a very positive thing, because it's like the mercy of God to not let you continue in your foolishness, or not to continue in your issue, that you have to deal with it in order to help this human being that's depending on you and trusting you and learning from you. It's really laying down your life and allowing yourself to be humbled, and allowing yourself to be molded, and allowing yourself to be changed, so that this child that is mirroring you will hopefully be more like Christ. And that's the whole goal, right? The best advice you've learned as a mom, I mean, I think that kind of goes with it. It's just like, that I know absolutely nothing, and then the next day I know everything, and as soon as I know everything, I know absolutely nothing. So I think there's been a lot of humility that has come with being a mom, and that a new day is coming, and sometimes you just have to start over and try again the next day. And as long as you never settle for, well, it's just the way it is, and you're always looking to be better and to handle life in a way that would be honoring to the Lord, I think is really important. By the way, tomatoes cut. Now we're gonna put the whole shebang together. Another topic that somebody asked me to talk about was your favorite school subject. I actually really enjoyed school. I was pretty nerdy and I really enjoyed school. So I liked school. The one thing I didn't prefer very much was science, although I think it's very interesting. I don't know, there was just a lot about it that didn't compute with my brain, if you know what I mean. So my absolute favorite probably was, I took a theater class that I really loved, and I had an amazing teacher. He slept like 4 hours a night, and he was just so passionate and so kind and so quirky, and just was a delightful teacher to have. So it made that class amazing. And then I also really loved history, and I had a teacher in high school that had been like everywhere that we talked about, you know. So if we're learning about Israel, you know, she's been there. If we're learning about Europe, she's been there. So instead of using textbooks, she would gather information from everywhere and give us this thick packet. So like Gettysburg, well, she'd been there, so she took the information from there and then used that to create our lessons, as well as we watched a ton of documentaries and movies in her class. So that she really made history come alive. And because I lived in Maryland for some of my growing up years, my mom in the military would take in like foreign students, you know, military students. And whenever I had a day off of school, we pretty much would go to like Pennsylvania, or we go up to New York, or we go to Gettysburg, or we go just like Baltimore, all these kind of places. And that was 4th through 7th grade. And looking back, I wish I would have really like had more of a passion for history at that time, because I was able to be there. Like I was there, you know, looking at all of this history and being a part of it. I saw the bell, and I got to see Gettysburg in the field and see the Statue of Liberty, all these things that I wish I would have, like, I enjoyed, but I didn't take in fully. And maybe you can't, you know, you have to redo things as you get older and your perspective changes and all that stuff. So anyway, I really, my teacher in high school that taught history and American history and all that, she made me like enjoy it so much more and so passionate. And then nerdy enough, I really enjoyed math. I had a teacher in 6th grade, her name was Dr. Mock. And I wouldn't say that I was like this really amazing student until I got to high school. But I tried to work hard, and they decided to put us in advanced math when we got into 6th grade. And that was really, really hard. And I feel like I cried every night. It was hours, literally, of math homework that none of us understood, and we were all scared of our teacher. We didn't want to ask. And I remember our like parent-teacher conference thing, and all the parents are in this room, and they're like all angry at the teacher. And she's like, "Well, they can ask questions too." And we're like, we're all terrified. So the first quarter, I got a D, and that was working hours and hours and crying and trying so hard, and then getting C's for the last 3 quarters. But I'm so glad that I pushed through that really difficult thing, because then after that, for some reason, math sort of clicked, and I just really enjoyed it. Except for geometry, I disliked geometry a lot. I've heard it said that you either really get algebra and not geometry, or the other way around. You really get algebra, you really get geometry, but not algebra. I'm an algebra girl. Like geometry and me, what? No. I'm going to do, let's see. I'm gonna do both of these, turkey, cheddar, tomato, and that's that. I don't know if I I've told you guys this before, but I was valedictorian of my high school. We had about 200 students, and there were actually 3 valedictorians in our high school. And I would say that the other 2 probably worked harder than me, taking much harder classes. The requirement at our school was that you had a 4.0, and it wasn't based on you taking necessarily taking like accelerated classes or anything like that, although some of my classes were. But I would say that the other 2 students that were valedictorians probably, took more intense classes. But it's not that I was trying to get out of anything. That's just the way that it went. So I really have been somebody that enjoys school, and I have dreams still of going back to high school, in your crazy dreams, and deciding that I'm going to take it all over again. Not that I want to do that, because I don't, but yeah, that was that. Okay, fave spots you and your husband visited while you were dating. Marcus and I had a really cool dating relationship because we knew each other for a year before we started dating, and we traveled together before we started dating doing music. I had put out a CD back in 2009, nothing crazy, okay? Just don't even ask about it. But I needed somebody to play for me because I wasn't a strong instrumentalist at the time, so I knew him like just by name pretty much. And we met at Starbucks, and I had just randomly asked him, like, hey, would you want to be my band? And he was like, okay. And so we started traveling, and we weren't really interested in each other at all. But then when we did start dating, some of the places that we went, we have this thing close by called New Salem, and it's in Petersburg, Illinois. They have like a whole little village that kind of mimics Abraham Lincoln's time and his village, and they've got plaques on there, and you can go inside and they'll have reenactments. This was actually maybe right before we started dating. They have a candlelight festival, and you go at nighttime, you carry lanterns around, they give out little gingerbreads, and you can see all of the houses there that are like it would be back in the day, with lanterns. They've got music playing. It's really, really beautiful and fun, and I remember it being kind of cold, and we did that. Then we also went to St. Louis all the time, and we just absolutely loved it. We would go to the Science Museum, we'd go to the Galleria Mall, we would go to Cheesecake Factory. We would just walk around and have a ton of fun listening to music the whole way there. John Mayer, okay, and just all kinds of other music while we would drive there, and it was so sweet and so special, and I loved it. And we also would go to, where else? We also went to a place that's about an hour away. It's actually where we got engaged, where I went to ask me to marry him. And I don't think we had ever been there before, but we have been since on like dates, and we've taken the kids back now that we have children. It's called Allerton Park, and it's beautiful. I think the whole story about Allerton Park is that it was somebody's like estate, and it's beautiful gardens. Look it up online. I'll put the link down below, and you can look at it. But they have this huge like mansion type thing, and this water area right in front of it, and you could just go forever, and it's so detailed, and there's gardens everywhere, and you can step down into gardens, and you can walk by different decorated gardens. I don't even know how to say it. You can go up into the woods. Gorgeous. So I would say that one was a really, really fun one. I can't really think of any more at the moment, but those are the ones that are popping into my mind. Oh, and of course, we always went to Starbucks. Like that and Barnes & Noble, we go sit and just not talk and just read books and look at magazines. It was great. I loved it. My favorite childhood memories. So I think I just loved hanging out with my friends, riding bikes and picking up bugs and playing with salamanders. And then when I got into high school, I loved doing theater. And music, choir, that kind of thing. It was my favorite. So those are probably my faves. Anything that involves like doing music or performing or playing and just running around and being a kid, being crazy, Okay, I am going to make better choices and cut this whole thing off. Okay, and then I'm gonna wrap this up in plastic. All right, let's finish up doing this other turkey guy here, and then we'll do ham and Swiss. Another little topic here is not that. Miscarriage, your miscarriages, how friends and family can support you. Every single person and every single situation is so different. And, you know, for me, I've talked about this, I've got a video about the miscarriages that I've had. I've had 9 miscarriages, and they don't necessarily have the answers as to why. I've been tested for different things, and it's just really kind of unsure. So, you know, I'm grateful for the 5 children that I have, and I think there's been times when miscarriages have had a harder impact on my heart than other times. And not to say that any of them were taken lightly or kind of, you know, not important. It's not that at all. Just sometimes, I don't know, the grace of God just sort of gets you through without it being maybe super traumatic, but then other times are really, really painful. And so how can your friends and family be a support to you? For me, I like to talk about things, but I don't necessarily like to be made over. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want people to make a big deal about it. For me, the best thing is just to be able to mention it or talk about it, and not even have a huge like, oh, I'm so sorry, but just knowing that like I can talk about it because this is a part of my life, and it was something that, you know, was disappointing, and it was discouraging, and it's been made me like unsure and confused at times, and knowing that I don't have to just, I think, keep it all to myself. But you know, every single person is so different, and their experience is different. I mean, some people's miscarriages can be really, really quite traumatic, and you know, maybe they're even dealing with like an ectopic pregnancy where they have to get surgery, and all of that stuff can really play a huge part into how each person deals with what they're going through. And so maybe the best thing to say to somebody is, I don't know how to help you, but is there something that would be helpful? Not, I'm here if you need me. I think that's okay, but just being that really direct, like, I have no idea what would be helpful to you. What would be helpful? What do you need to talk, or do you want to be alone? And just check in them periodically, check with them periodically, because sometimes you change. One minute you don't want anybody to talk to you, and you don't want anybody to know anything that's going on, and then the next minute you're like, man, I just wish I had somebody to talk to. So not only are you dealing with grief, but you're dealing with hormones, you're dealing with just confusion and sadness and all of those things. So just tell them, I don't know what you need, but I really care about you, and is there something I could do that would be helpful to you? And then give them some ideas. You know how it is when somebody says, let me know if you need something. Is there anything you need? And you're like, I don't know. So you could say, do you want to talk? Or can I give you a hug? Can I take you out for a coffee? And then it kind of gives them the freedom to say whether or not they want to talk about it, and put it in their hands, I guess. I'm going to wrap this up, okay? What I've been thinking a lot about more and more is just, you're always going to get impressions of people or impressions of situations, or kind of look at things, and it's really easy to get prideful and to think that, man, I know best and I know exactly what we should do and they're doing it wrong, or you have some kind of, you know, thought about them that's negative, and it's not necessarily the thought that matters, it's what we do with it. But that we would always come back to like giving the person grace and mercy and saying, you know, giving them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, and always assuming the best until you know what's truly, what the truth really is. And even when we think we have the truth, even when we think we're seeing things in reality and in purity, man, our minds can take something really minuscule and blow it up, and take something really big and minimize it. I mean, we can do all sorts of things. And I was thinking about a negative encounter through an email that I had with somebody a long time ago. And I had held on to these very negative emotions toward this person for a long time by what was said in this email. And years later, I said, I gotta get back and just remember exactly what they said. And when I went back and read it, it wasn't what I thought, because my mind had taken it to the next level, if you know what I'm saying. And now I feel kind of foolish, you know, I feel humiliated, I guess would be a way to say it. It's like, wow, I saw something that wasn't there. Or we think we say something, then we don't. You know, that happens to me a lot on here on YouTube. I think I say something and then I go to edit the video and I'm like, I didn't say that at all. Not even close. What? So even in our own selves, we think we've said something or we think we've heard something. And then if you have the luxury of a video, you go back and you think, why did I say that? When did I say that? I don't even remember saying that. And it's like, well, there it is, clear as day, you can't deny it. So, I don't know, I guess just an encouragement to us all, you know, offer that grace and that mercy and that understanding that people change, people are not always as they seem in the good and the bad, and that giving something an opportunity multiple times until you really decide, is this someone or something that I need to have in my life? And to review that often and go back and say, am I still believing that? Or do I still feel that way about that situation? Or, you know, was I really seeing it in its full light? Well, that's my story and sticking to it. Okay, folks, I'm gonna finish this up. We gotta get going. I like talking to you though. So I'm just gonna bag everything up now, you guys. I know that's really exciting. Everybody's gonna get some ham sandwiches, some turkey sandwiches. I've made one without meat and added some lettuce to it for our vegetarian friend. And then I'm bagging up the cupcakes. I'm gonna add in the frosting bags. I'm gonna grab some oranges and put those in there, little baggies of goodness. And then in just a few minutes here, Marcus is gonna be home from work and we're gonna go deliver it. So thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope that you're doing well. And I appreciate all of your support and love. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye.